Madam Speaker, I won't take the little meeting personally. I'm sure that he was not referring to me when he said that, because in fact it was a big meeting. It was the first time in Canada's history that we have the 5 largest grocers in Canada, and what I did, Madam Speaker, I expressed the frustration of 40 million Canadians. So I welcome my colleague to express his own frustration, because it's together that we're going to stabilize prices. And Madam Speaker, one of the tools that we have presented that's going to make a difference is a reform on competition. That is the best way to stabilize prices. We're really committed, and I hope every member of this House will vote in favor.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Always difficult to follow this member's large impression. After 8 years of this NDP-Liberal government, Canada is facing challenges not seen since the Great Depression. 2 million Canadians are visiting food banks a month, doubling rents and mortgages. And perhaps worst of all, heartbreaking reports of children asking Santa for something to eat for this Christmas. To quote the Liberal Finance Minister from 2015, "This is no global problem, as the government likes to pretend for its shoddy mismanagement. This is a made-in-Canada runway to recession." Why are these Liberals so hell-bent to impoverishing Canadians?
The honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. You know, on one hand, it's good to see the Conservatives finally talking about poverty reduction strategies, but on the other hand, it's clear that they're still only reading the headlines and not the article. Madam Speaker, while the Conservatives continue to talk down the Canadian economy, I'd like to take an opportunity to remind them of a couple of key facts. There are over 1.1 million more jobs created since the pandemic, and we've recovered all the jobs and the economic growth since after the pandemic, Madam Speaker. The important thing to recognize with respect to poverty reduction is that our government was the one that modernized the Canada Child Benefit and pulled hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty. Poverty reduction continues to be one of the pillars of our government strategy. Thank you, Madam.
Honourable member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
I want those at home to listen carefully, because what you won't hear from that side at all is per capita, per Canadian. Every Canadian, on average, is getting poorer. In fact, our economy shrank by 1.1%. Our per capita growth is to be the worst in the OECD. The U.S., it's gone up by nearly 5%. So I'm just curious, what will cause these Liberals to reverse direction? Longer food bank lines, worse economic numbers, or perhaps even worse polling numbers?
Yeah. The honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, you know, I've been paying attention to those same headlines, but I don't just read the top line, I read the entire article. And what a lot of these poverty reduction organizations, the food banks, and the organizations that are helping keep some of the most vulnerable Canadians afloat during challenging times, what they're asking for is continued programs like guaranteed livable income strategies like the Canada Child Benefit and the Guaranteed Income Supplement, Madam Speaker. They're asking for more programs to support Canada's most vulnerable, and those are the exact same programs that these Conservatives would cut if they were ever in government. Their programs, when Harper was the Prime Minister, did nothing to alleviate poverty, and will continue to help the most vulnerable Canadians with these.
The honourable member for